Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated, returning after a lengthy absence from this channel and from Kaiserreich. I meant to get this video done about 2 weeks ago, but we had a major power cut in Ireland, so I'm only kind of catching up with things now. And this is a very important episode for a number of reasons. First of all, the channel is barreling towards 3,000 subscribers. It might have even hit that number by the time that I get this video up. So a big thank you to everyone who's joined in over the last couple of years and supported the channel and listened to all of my ramblings about Irish history. And the other reason for why this is an important video is because we have a sponsor. This series, is going to be officially sponsored by the Up With The Stars submod for Kaiserreich. And by officially sponsored, what I mean is that CPM 4001, the benevolent dictator-in-chief of the Up With The Stars submod, very kindly gifted me a copy of his favourite game, Phantom Doctrine, which I have been playing on Twitch absolutely terribly. I do not understand how the disguises work, so instead of playing Phantom Doctrine, I'm going to play Kaiserreich. Look, we kind of have Phantom Doctrine up here in the corner. CPM and his crew are busy at work getting the Up With The Stars submod ready at the moment, and I'm going to be checking it out when it comes out. It's focusing heavily on almost entirely on the United States, so we'll get to play as JFK's dad and see what shenanigans he will get up to. And speaking of shenanigans, the other reason that this is officially sponsored, not officially at all, sponsored by the Up With The Stars submod, is because a user over on their Discord, North Midwest, suggested the path that I'm going to go down today. In the 1937 elections, we're going to dump out this lad, Michael Collins, and we're going to bring in the Labour Party under William O'Brien in coalition with the Progressive Labour Party, led by Owen Sheehy Skeffington. And then the shenanigans will begin. Until then, we have to go down our traditional start. We don't have a huge heap of options. We have absolutely no options whatsoever, other than to renovate the Cork-Belfast line. And once that's done, we will wait for Monday. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen Kaiserreich before, or who hasn't maybe seen all that much of Ireland, this is a mod set in an alternate reality, an alternate timeline in which the Germans won the First World War, and this had a number of knock-on effects, such as there was no Irish Civil War, which is why the country is led by Michael Collins, who, in the real timeline, was shot dead in 1922. And a number of other people who were killed in the Irish Civil War will pop up in a variety of different places. There's Rory O'Connor, took the anti-treaty side and was executed. We have Cathal Brugha, died in the early stages of the Civil War, and Liam Lynch died towards the end of the Civil War. So we have a number of different characters who can all serve together in ways that they most certainly would not have done IRL. I usually stick Tom Barry in as my commander. Do you know what? Look at that. Look at that for attack. Go on. So Tom Barry is going to command the handful of forces that we have, and we will put him under Field Marshal Liam Lynch. We have our first major decision, the death of King George. I usually go with politics be damned, Collins shall speak up, but I think what we'll do instead is send the Canadians a private message of our condolences. So we're going to lose 5 and I think gain 15 political power. So having expressed our condolences on the death of King George, we've been given a chunk of political power. Now we're going to lose that pretty quickly once the Black Monday event begins, so I don't really need to, and it's not going to massively help me at the moment, but we're going to stick in Sean Russell into the High Command for the supply consumption decrease. So I usually use him when we send out some volunteers. And so we receive 2 updates at a time. The Cork-Belfast line has been renovated. Surely the Irish economy is now going to go into overdrive. No. Black Monday has struck on the 3rd of February 1936. The 89th anniversary fell only a few days ago. World tension has increased. Now, if we go and look at renovate the Cork-Belfast line, the next thing that we could do is anything, actually, but we will not have enough time to do anything before assess the damage becomes available, which we will wait for. So Black Monday hits Ireland. So Ireland is part of Mittel Europa, of the German economic sphere, which means we're going to be hit very bad. Base stability falls, political power, there we go, everything is pretty much gone. And German economic dominance has been replaced with Black Monday in Ireland. I have some factories lined up to be built at the moment, and they are now going to take a very, very lengthy time. Following on from the War of Independence and the creation of a 26-county entity on the island of Ireland, the defeat of the British monarchy led to them going into exile in Canada. The Union of Britain is now ruled by Syndicalists as the Union of Britain, and the Unionists weren't too fond of staying attached to them, so they joined in with the Republic on the condition that they got major concessions, and now they are demanding that they be prioritised over the rest of the country in the attempts to sort out the economic chaos of Black Monday, so we can start to assess the damage. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to head for subsidies anyway, and I'm also going to try and get this one. I might just go straight down here and then focus almost exclusively on keeping the Unionists happy, and we'll say that that's the reason for why Collins is going to be dumped out in 37. The damage has been assessed. We can see that we're members of Mittel Europa. Black Monday in Ireland is giving minus 60% construction speed. Production efficiency cap has gone down. Efficiency growth has gone down. Factory output has gone down. So we're suffering fairly heavily. Bail out the northern industries. I think we'll just start with stabilize the punt. Now our political power is beginning to climb. And then it vanishes as we see empty factories. So we've lost 35 political power. To get the very best outcome for Collins on Black Monday, we need to get 55 political power together. So we've lost 3 civilian factories, which is going to make things even harder for us. So we need 55 political power to enact one of the decisions that we get from this. And then we can keep the nationalists or the national economy happy, and we can keep the unionists happy to the very highest level. I haven't been able to do that yet. Apparently it's a very interesting course of action. You get a wartime coalition government of a plethora of interesting figures all stuck together in the government under Collins, who gets a new hat. So that's something we might try at some stage. But for today we're going to focus on keeping the unionists happy, and if I manage to do that I might even go for emergency taxes. I do like that one, but if you take either impose public sector austerity or emergency taxes, you're not going to be able to finish off this chain and enough here to keep everyone happy. We might as well revert over to bail out the northern industries. And speaking of the Union of Britain, Tom Mann has stepped down and been replaced with Arthur Horner. This is an interesting one. I haven't really seen him come to power before. I've been playing a bit of this of recent, mostly trying to get to grips with the military aspect, and I've seen Sylvia Pankhurst come to power quite a lot. The Pope is dead. And just quickly on the topic of Sylvia Pankhurst, for any history nerds, there was a book released recently on a woman called May O'Callaghan. It was mostly about the title of the book, The Hotel Lux in Moscow. And May O'Callaghan was supposed to take up a job in her brother-in-law's company as a secretary, and she went to London, or went to England, to get a connecting boat across to Europe to go to Austria when the First World War broke out. So she was stuck in England, and she ended up taking a job as a typist for Sylvia Pankhurst. And from there, she ended up as the head of the English translation division of the Comintern. So the Hotel Lux is kind of a biography of her and a couple of other figures, Irish figures, if you're interested in Irish history, Soviet history, or the intersection of Irish and Soviet history. It's not a very big library, not a very big collection of books on the topic, but it's a really interesting analysis of individuals in the Irish socialist and communist movement. The O'Flaherty brothers, Liam and Tom, appear, and they're going to appear here at some stage as well. So it's a pity that we didn't get to see Sylvia show up. Northern Labour has been bailed out. We're now empowering the central bank, and we get a pop-up about the stitchies and the pennies. So in this universe, that's the IRA. That's the IRA from the War of Independence. So we've the stitchies and the pennies, which would be a reference to the official and provisional IRA, from the way that they would pin their Easter lilies. So we're seeing parts of future history being pulled back, and we're going to see kind of reverse echoes. We're going to hear bits of the Troubles from 1968 onwards being pulled back into this timeline, and now taking on the role of the official and provisional IRA are Aontas na Siúnta and the National Guard, i.e. the Blue Shirts, and the Irish Citizen Army under Saor Éire. We'll be hearing a bit more about the ICA later on. Base stability goes down because these two are causing bedlam. They're also, the ICA is basically filling in for the IRA in the 30s when they would have attacked Cumann Gael meetings and fought with the Blue Shirts. The central bank has been empowered. It is time to offer subsidies for northern landowners. This will give us a attempt backroom deal with the UDP leadership, but we would need 55 political power for that. And if we see how we're doing, so the initial relieving measures are unacceptable. The UDP view the support that we've given them as negligible because it's a UDP coalition that's keeping our support from the opposition benches that's keeping Michael Collins in power. So we have 126 days until this gets done. Stability in political power is collapsing, but Michael Collins has rallied support for war in his address to the nation on Easter Monday. We have the spectre of syndicalism. So again, the ICA are being associated with actual IRA attacks during the 1930s. And Jim Larkin is floating around somewhere, being a devil. So totalism and syndicalism go up, and we're going to see clashes at Trinity between the ICA and Aontas na Siúnta, or the National Guard. So we've protected southern industries. They're telling us that the initial measures are insufficient. It's entirely possible that that's all that you're getting. We will begin to organise northern relief work. Northern relief work has been organised. We're on to suppressing northern industrial action. They give us a few buffs and bonuses and stuff, but I mean, overall, we're looking at the 21st of October, 1937, before we get our first factory built in Munster as a result of the various slowdowns. We've had clashes at Trinity. So there was indeed a presentation given by Owen Sheehy Skeffington, and that was attacked by Gearóid Ó Chunagáin, a prominent Aontas na Siúnta politician. And as New Zealand joins the Entente, we're told that Mittel Europa has gotten up and running again. Could you not support something sensible, please? Industrial projects is what I would like, which would be a civilian factory in Munster. So that's what's getting the most support, but the Germans have gone for arms experts. So we've managed to suppress northern industrial action. Doesn't seem to have moved anything for UDP support at the moment. And we will allay northern nationalists. So that is going to production efficiency cap is the main thing, and it will improve the UDP view of the support that they've been given. That's pretty much all we can do now. We have 62 days, so we'll probably be able to get some of the other southern industry ones done. And here we have the dance hall debates, which is again an actual historical debate that took part in Dáil Éireann. So we have Eamon de Valera, in keeping with his staunch belief in a traditional Irish nation devout in its Christian faith, a leader of Saoirstoit Cristúil. So he's calling for draconian regulations on public dance premises and an awkward coalition of Saoirstoit Cristúil, Aontas na Siúnta, Clan na Talamh, and the Labour Party have come in support of that, but they are defeated by Sinn Féin, the UDP, and Sean Lamasse's National Development Party, and Owen Shee Skeffington's PLP. So we have a couple of changes there too. A variety of different things. Well, typical. We've done everything that we could possibly do for them, and the UDP are not happy. So we're not going to be able to get 67 points together. I think we have 40-something days, so we could get a few done. I could take the two of those. But what we will start with is impose public sector austerity. And then I can actually see where we are. 49 days, so that'll knock us down to 35. I could potentially get two 14-day ones done, or get the other austerity one. Oh, those German devils, they've chosen their own demand over the one that we wanted. So no factory for Munster. Public sector austerity has been imposed. Now I should point out that these do not impress either the National Recovery or the UDP, same with emergency taxes. Stability in factory output. Since the Ireland update was put out last year for Kaiserreich, El Daddy and others have been working away, adding some more stuff and fixing some issues here and there. This seems to be something new that was added, because I don't remember seeing this one before. I don't remember seeing the big, scary, hat-wearing skeleton. Or maybe it's just an option that didn't really pop up, but de Gaulle, in the exiled French region down here, has basically given up and is handing the country over to the House of Orleans. And speaking of updates that El Daddy and others have made, one that I actually really like is, because I don't think this was here the last time, they now have, at the very start, I might be wrong, but I don't remember the 1941 elections being in at the very start. I might be wrong, I have to check up on that. We are cutting things close. We have 21 days left, which is the exact amount of time that is needed to research emergency taxes. We've just gotten the emergency bailouts done. Collins is attempting to try and placate or to alleviate the worst of the problems. Instead of assessing the damage or doing anything, we could have just gone straight down this route here, down the modernise machine, tools and equipment. We could have just abandoned the whole thing. That's going to take 35 days. I don't think they matter too much. We're going to go for purchase surplus dairy products. So that's going to take 14 days. And then we're going to hold off on doing anything for a while. And amidst all the economic chaos that is being caused, a new force in Irish politics arises. William O'Brien, one of the founders, along with Jim Larkin and James Connolly of the Labour Party, and Michael Donlan of Clonataloon, or Clonatalav. William O'Brien, during this time period, from 1932 onwards, it was William Norton that was the leader of the Labour Party into like 1960 or something like that. But El Daddy and Kaiserreich have put William O'Brien in charge of the party, and we're told that there have already been discussions between Donlan and O'Brien. A clever alliance, but will it be enough? So there is the purchase of surplus dairy products done. So everyone views our efforts as promising. I'm not too sure if that's good enough for anything. Because it isn't a total victory, I'm probably not going to do this, but it does open up the possibility of Richard Mulcahy taking over. And there we go. The French monarchy has been restored. So Mulcahy is our second in command at the moment, but he could actually take over from Collins as a result of not achieving a total victory. Big fella, more like a big fool. The government's endeavours in both of these regards has ended in failure, with severe repercussions being felt throughout the nation. So the big fellow has become the big fool. Base stability, minus 5% political power. No, my political power, I need that for things. And loyalist anger will decrease, which is something. So we have responded to Black Monday. Not very well, but we have responded. We have the option now of holding on for the Eli Maka incident, which is also going to open up a couple of other things. I think what I will do instead of wasting too much time is, do I want to pursue industrialization? I do like industrialization, and agrarianism is going to give us population and manpower. We're going to end up in the most chaotic of manpower crises, to such a degree that there is no power on Earth or in this focus tree that can save us. Well, there is, but no amount of plus manpower stuff is going to be of any benefit to us. Right then, here is the Eli Maka incident. The Eli Matcha, as I've heard it called. So it's a good thing that I didn't wait on too much longer, because I would have wasted a lot of kind of time waiting for this. An Irish vessel, the Eli Maka, has been struck, has collided with a Union of Britain, I think it's a Union of Britain submarine. This has created an international crisis. And now, the Union of Britain and Germany will begin to vie for control of Ireland. So the Eli Maka incident has been opened up. We're going to pursue industrialization. This hasn't opened up yet, has it? It has indeed, the gateway to the Atlantic. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to promote the volunteer brigades. So we're going to go for a People's Army, refurbish the Curragh, and this will give me max volunteer force divisions plus 4. So I'll be able to deploy 5 divisions, significantly more than what we could get from the section over here, and that would be for the United States only. So we're going to send out some volunteers in various different directions. So here is our military tree. I'm probably going to go for a People's Army because it gives us Cussentori. So this is the professional army, and this is basically learning from the War of Independence. So we're going to go down the War of Independence guerrilla army route. And also, the gateway to the Atlantic chain has begun. So there's the German Empire and the Union of Britain on 0 points each. If either side should have 15 or more influence points than the other, then bad things will happen. And to make sure bad things don't happen, here's the IRA, the Irish Army, to assure us that they will step in and kill all of us if things do not go in the direction that they want. So we have to preserve from... the army is loyal to the civilian government, but this may change should the government lose control of domestic or foreign affairs. Here's the foreign affairs. And domestic affairs is all the argy-bargy that we've heard from the Shunta, the ICA, and we're going to see an increasingly upset Northern Ireland. Thank you, Irish Army. Thank you. The IRA, they always have your back. Always looking out for what's best. Industrialization has been pursued. It'd be great to go on, get a civilian factory. Is that 2 civilian factories? It would enable some decisions for factories. We'd gain some infrastructure in places, so it'd be great to go down those routes. But like I said, we're going to start with a People's Army. So it's going to add guerrilla warfare, which will give supply consumption decreases and some army experience. And just like that, we have a People's Army. Now, we could go down for perfected guerrilla warfare, so we'd need to do the 3 of these to shove on down towards the Cussentori, which I will eventually want, but for now, we're going to make sure that when they go to train in the Curragh, that they have a nice camp to do so. And here again are those domestic affairs that the IRA warned us about in Northern Ireland, in Ulster. The Ulster privileges, which are, I think traditionally in the 1800s, they were basically kind of customs on renting land. So basically, in Ulster, people would have fixity of tenure and things like this. Stuff that was not extended throughout the rest of the country, so they were the Ulster privileges, but here they've been repackaged as a number of concessions that have been made to the UDP, so they basically are in a position to carry out the mass firing of Catholics from jobs And we're going to see people being burnt out of their houses soon, so we're seeing a lot of the trouble that happened in the early 1920s. And again in the 60s, we're seeing that being recreated. Could Black Monday have been the last straw? The Curragh has been given a lick of paint, and this will now allow us to promote the volunteer brigade. So if we'd gone for the professional army, as we go down this middle track, we gain extra benefits. But we want Nacosantori. It's 42 days, but I would like to go on and get that artillery license for the off-map military factory, because that's where we're badly stuck at the start. I think we have like just 2 factories. But we'll go for this one at the moment, which is going to give us max volunteer force divisions of 4. So it's 35 days. It's a lengthy process to get down here, but it'll give us some leverage on world affairs. Huey Long, the patron saint of the Up with the Stars submod for Kaiserreich, has been elected as President of the United States of America. I'm sure that he is going to usher in a period of peace and stability. And you know what? If the Americans can have an election, we can have one as well, set for February of 1937. Currently, the likely winner is Eamon de Valera's Un Saoirstát Cristúil. That will not stand. So I have begun the process of countering Saoirstát Cristúil campaigning. Oh, the devils, the Spanish Civil War has erupted. It was inevitable. And we're told that if we send volunteers to take part in the conflict, they will gain the O'Neill Brigade, which will grant 5% attack bonus against the 2 countries, the 2 factions that we aren't supporting, and we'll also get a defense bonus. Mad Owl Chaos. Who in their right mind would want to get involved with that? As part of the election, we're going to be asked a series of questions, and we can support one of the 3 main parties, Sinn Féin, Un Saoirstát Cristúil, or Labour. So at the moment, for the first one, I'm actually going to support Sinn Féin. So the German Empire and the Union of Britain will gain 5 influence points. And here, as a result of our failure in the Black Monday crisis, in keeping everyone happy, there are calls for Collins to step down. We could bring in Mulcahy. Collins holds his ground and remains party leader. The volunteer brigades have been promoted. There's our extra divisions. We're going to switch over to the gateway to the Atlantic, get the gift of the gab to make that decision a bit cheaper. Maybe. I don't know if we actually need it. We'll start with the gateway to the Atlantic. And things aren't looking great in this direction at the moment for the course of action that we want to take. We will select the Syndicalists, and in a move that makes absolutely no sense with the current government, we will offer to send Tom Barry and a heap of horses. While those troops set sail, we have the northern question. I'm going to support Labour. They will gain influence. Stability will increase by 2%. And the current likely winner is the Labour Party. Isn't that typical? The Irish head out to the sun and it's pouring rain. We've arrived in Barcelona. And we can appoint as our Field Marshal. Are we going to keep Lynch as the Field Marshal? This is something that I didn't know that you could do. Do you know what? We'll stick in Brua. We won't. There's a specific reason. We might see that later on, why I'm not putting in Brua. We're going to put in Lynch. We do have some traits that we can improve. Tom Barry, I mean, come on. He's going to be an infantry expert. It's going to be division attack for Tom Barry. And for Lynch, we'll give Lynch the entrenchment bonus. And might as well then give him the defensive doctrine. While I try and get my troops to actually move, we have the Middle Europa question. We'll support Labour, but we don't want to support them too much because we will start losing political power. And with the gateway to the Atlantic done, where I'm going to start is actually British engineering advisors. So this will give us a number of advisors, which will help with our shattered economy. Boys, oh boys, the Irish are in the newspaper. Even though we mightn't be there for long if we don't actually manage to hold this place. Now we have our British engineering advisors. We're going to procure foreign know-how, which will give 10 influence points to the German Empire and the Union of Britain, and will increase or give us some research bonuses, and then that opens up the interesting area. And as the war continues in Spain, a government that might be more sympathetic to the course of action that we have taken comes to power. William O'Brien has been elected. This opens up the cause of labour. So we have all these various different things that we could do. Yeah, sure. Now here's some worrying news. We have a standoff in America. It's going to be important that we get sympathetic governments in positions in the world. That's what we're trying to do here, and America is one that worries me. And this is where we start to lock in the shenanigans promised at the start of the video, and on the advice of North Midwest from the Up With The Stars Discord, William O'Brien, he's given a selection of who he wants to appoint. He could put in Sean Lemass of the National Development Party, or he could bury the hatchet. Apparently there's a hatchet and it needs to be buried between the Labour Party and Francis, well, not Francis Sheehy Skeffington, Owen Sheehy Skeffington, his son. So here's William Norton, who is the actual leader of the Labour Party at this stage, and here is Richard Corish, the father of William Norton's successor. So Norton, I think, was 1932 to 1960. And then Richard's son would succeed him. The Labour Party and Clonataloon, or Clonatalav, negotiate the terms of forming a government with the Progressive Labour Party. We have finished procuring foreign know-how. To venture further down this tree, we need to get one of the two factions 15 points ahead of the other. I'm not in a position to do that just yet, so what I'm going to do is actually complete the new ode, and that is going to give us the ability to purchase small arms and artillery. And here we go, the government formation is now complete. There is no struggle. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. So Michael Donlan of Clonatalav is going to become our second in command, I believe. And if we take a look at some of the interesting figures that we can now appoint, Rosamund Jacob, a diarist who was present at the opening of Dol Éireann, and a suffragette, Hannah Sheehy Skeffington, and her son Owen Sheehy Skeffington, so we could throw the two of them in. There's William Norton. There's a number of interesting figures here. Father John Hayes, who founded Muintir na Tíre in 1931, so we could get him on board. I do like the fact that Noel Brown, one of his abilities is air accidents chance minus 20%. That is some doctor. Boys, oh boys, that's some doctor. Sean McBride, who in the very first version of the Caltherkrieg mod was the leader of Fine Gael. That, I believe, has since been changed, or the name of his party has been changed. Now, we do have a good chunk of points to spend. We have 236. So, what I'm going to do is, as my next advisor, I am going to appoint Free Trade. So, Free Trade increases factory construction time. It's going to impact intelligence, which isn't all that much of a deal to us, really. Now, while the Labour Party is celebrating, things aren't going so well in Northern Ireland. Antas ná Siúnta have swept the board in predominantly Catholic districts. This is worrying the UDP and is leading to hardline unionist sentiment turning against the moderates, who previously supported the uneasy involvement of the region in a united Ireland. So loyalist anger will increase and nationalist discontent will increase. And there we go, we're not prepared But the Second American Civil War has erupted. More instability is caused in Northern Ireland by the creation of a civil rights movement. So it looks like forces in Northern Ireland are playing with fire. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get a civilian factory from the Union of Britain and a building slot in Leinster. How kind, how generous. And I'm also going to use this opportunity to purchase some small arms from the German Empire. So that's going to increase their influence. We need to get another 5 points of influence with the Union of Britain. Is it increasing at the moment? It's not. I might need to spend some points to court favour with them. So the National League for Civil Liberties has begun to carry out marches in Ulster against anti-Catholic discrimination, and the Gardaí are maintaining order. So IRL, during the Civil War, the Civic Guard was established, and they mutinied against the government, and they were effectively disbanded and replaced with An Garda Síochána. So it's interesting to see that the Gardaí are also present in this timeline. So this is causing bedlam, rulabula in Northern Ireland. James Hanna McCormack is accusing the NLCL of being a blue shirt stalking horse. Don't we have enough on our plates already? I got a big war going on here. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like this. I don't like the look of this. This, on the other hand, I do like the look of. The Kingdom of Spain was annexed. And back home in Ireland, the glorious deeds of Tom Barry and his men are being remembered on... Well, it's not Easter Monday. It's the 24th of April. We've managed to successfully play with some fire, and what is fire without oil? So we're going to take 10 steel and 10 oil added in Leinster. It's entirely possible. I am trading for some steel at the moment. It's entirely possible I could actually stop that now. And with some steel and oil to our name, we're going to try and get some Irishmen to take to the skies. So the Union of Britain will give us a technology for a Fighter 1 Hurricane variant, and we will get 100 units of that plane. Now we just need to get Noel Brown to show us how to fly them. Now things are progressing nicely in the Civil War in Spain. We've done things. I've helped. This horse went in a mad run, took a big old chunk of land, and now we have fighter jets. I think we're getting pretty close to the end of all the stuff that we want. There's some interesting routes that we could go down here. So factory output increases for a while. The effects of Black Monday are lessened twice. What we're going to do, most important, is that we get these two at the bottom. The Liffey hydroelectric scheme. As long as either of the two powers has 150 points, we're going to get a civilian factory, we're going to get a dam, and a building slot in Leinster. So while we're doing a great job aiding the syndicalists in Spain, the unionists in Northern Ireland are a bit worried about them. And indeed, so worried about the syndicalists are the unionists that they have started rioting. Riots have broken out between the communities in Ulster on the 12th of July. The Gardaí are ineffective at quelling the riots and are indeed accused of siding with members of their own community. Several people are dead and many homes are destroyed. Stability goes down. Infrastructure takes some damage. I'm sure it'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? It's only a little bit of trouble in Ulster. The Liffey hydroelectric scheme has been completed, so there's some good news. And we now have the greenest fields in Europe. So this will give us 3 off-map civilian factories for a year. So these aren't permanent. They're not ones that we actually control, and they're also going to disappear after a year, but that's going to be tremendous for trying to actually get our factories up and running. We got a factory built in Munster, and I am now trying to build a military factory. I do need to get... It's maybe not a great idea. I do need to get... So that's probably going to go to support equipment. I need to get towed artillery. I basically want to start getting some towed artillery. But need a factory for that. The north of Spain has been pacified. Yeah, sure, that's the term we'll use. Just as syndicalist forces begin to push on to the outskirts of Madrid. We'll help. And indeed, the front line around Madrid is collapsing rapidly. I'm not too sure where they've actually moved their capital to. Seville, that's probably sensible. Get it as far away from us as possible. Spain undoubtedly has the bloodiest fields in Europe. Ireland, however, has the greenest. And I think that we've pretty much gotten everything that we want from the gateway of the Atlantic. I could try and get lessons at the Prussian Staff College. Like I said, I'm not too pushed about the study industrial techniques. It's only going to be for 180 days. I could start working on these three options here, but I'm going to avoid doing that for a very specific reason. That would allow us to go down for facilitate cooperative business, but like I said, there's a very specific reason why I'm going to ignore that. So I think for now, our options are either to go back to the military route or to the economic. So again, I could 42 days and I could actually get that military factory that I'm building at the moment. And that would be all that I need. I think what we will do is go back to the economy. Leinster will get a building slot and a civilian factory. How can you say no to that? The syndicalists have managed to surround Madrid. Now we're coming in for a lot of engines running out of petrol. And we're coming in from for a lot of attacks from these guys, a lot of attrition at the moment. So if we could get this done some way quickly, that'd be great. That'd be absolutely tremendous. And there we go. Tom Barry marches into Madrid, and Carlos Spain has capitulated. And the Spanish Civil War is over. The O'Neill Brigade has been removed and is returning home. We've also got 150 political power together, and I am going to use that to enact early mobilization. This is going to reduce military factory and civilian factory construction speed. It's going to reduce the penalty that they're receiving. So we're now looking at a military factory in Munster in October. We receive a message that the victorious volunteers from the Spanish Civil War have returned home and arrived in Leinster. Surely, there's the trains leaving Dublin after a big parade. Everyone came from Galway to see the returning forces. And I hope they got a good look at them, because they're departing almost immediately to serve with the combined syndicates in the American Civil War. I'd say, do you know what? I'd say they'll be back soon enough. I don't think they'll be gone for long. Now I'm wondering if... Now I definitely made a mistake, but how bad of a mistake have I made? Could we instead have held off and sent those forces to assist in the Patagonian Workers' Front? If we are going to send anybody, we will be sending them to assist Patagonia. And it looks like, since declaring that we were going to send forces out here, that has agitated the American Union state. They have pushed up a good chunk in this direction. We have been dropped at Baltimore. And again, we don't really have much of a choice for our field marshal. We're going to see why we don't have much of a choice. We only have the one candidate. We're going to see why that is shortly. We will select Liam Lynch. We can see there to the left around Charleston that things are actually improving since the arrival of the Irish, and not alone the Irish. I don't think we see any of them there, but there's one Spanish syndicalist troop marching in this direction. Well, things are not going so good back in Ireland. The Unionists have reformed the Ulster Volunteer Force. O'Hunaroyn is stirring up Catholic anger. The government is not really willing to do anything, and anything that we do is making the Unionists even more angry. They're looking at the Catholic crypto-syndicalist government in Dublin harming their own employment. And the moderates are failing to make any ground in Ulster as well, so loyalist anger will increase, nationalist discontent will increase. The utter unsuitability and unpreparedness of the Irish Army is beginning to tell in the American Civil War. However, we're going to continue with economic development. So we have given ourselves the option of extending the textile and mill subsidies to expand Blarney's textile mills. We're running a bit low on political power at the moment, so instead of taking this option for 35 days, which would give us an option to get a civilian factory, I will take this off-map civilian factory in 42 days. As a result of the Liffey hydroelectric scheme, which we took a good while ago, the Pulafuca reservoir construction is about to complete in the next couple of days, which will give us a civilian factory and a dam, and we will need 40 points, political power, to support Wexford agricultural equipment manufacturers. So that'll give us a civilian factory. Theirs expand the textile and mill subsidies, so lots of options for getting factories, including in Northern Ireland. Yeah, I'd say those factories won't stay standing for long. It has taken our forces at Washington absolutely ages to push through here, because we're just totally not equipped. A bit of the old artillery, that'd send the Americans running, but we have neither the artillery pieces nor the manpower to shoot them. This is a peculiar one. The Free Haven era. So they're trying to set up a Radio Free Scotland. I think, even though this will give the Union of Britain 10 influence points, I don't think this is what Britain wants. It will, however, give us 12,000 manpower. So we're basically going to betray these people, because they want to set up a radio station to protest against the British. So the point of independence was for freedom to shine here. Absolutely, Irish independence will live on forever. We will never bow down to the British or to their demands. Give me those troops. And every single one of those 12,000 have disappeared into attempting to prop up artillery, which I've now assigned to all of the units. It might be pouring rain in the United States, but you know what? It's better than being back home in Derry. A siege has broken out in the Catholic Bogside. More rioting. Order amongst the Northern Gardaí has collapsed. We cannot stand idly by. So we get a hit to political power again, just as I need to start building factories. We've managed to encircle a sizable little group here. I'm not the best with the old military in Kaiserreich or Hearts of Iron. So it's a good thing I'm only playing as Ireland, because I would make a hames of it if I was playing with a country that had an actual military. And do you know what? Maybe I should try and build an actual military. We've got an off-map civilian factory up and running, so I think I'm just going to randomly go down through these options here, because we'll need to do the 3 of them to go for Lessons of the War of Independence. Then most likely do you know what? We'll probably take Fortify the Shannon. And then consolidate the reserve forces and down to Nacusantori. That's going to take a while. Things have absolutely spiraled out of control in Northern Ireland. Martial law has been declared in the region. However, G2, Irish intelligence has picked up whispers of a potential coup, that the army basically views the government as inept and pro-syndicalist. Whatever would give them that idea. I'm sure there won't be a coup. And so, not for the first time in our history, we have a big red line drawn on the map of Ireland, and we have flames in Belfast. So the area has spiraled out of control. We've basically... stability has collapsed, and we can't send soldiers in there anymore. I'm not too sure. I think we mightn't actually have access to the... It's not much of a change. There's been damage to some of the areas, and we might not have access to the factories. That's why I've stopped building factories there. If you're going to rebel against me, Northern Ireland, you're not going to get a factory. Wexford, you can have a factory. Hell's bells, we have a bit of movement in this pocket, finally. There's a good chunk of forces still here, causing trouble. Speaking of trouble, the Blue Shirts have been putting up barricades in Ulster, in Northern Ireland. We've managed to threaten him with a ban on his party, unless he does something to take them down. Gród Ó Chuineágáin, who would be his kind of second-in-command at this stage, is having none of it, however, and has split off and formed Altiri na Hashairí, the Architects of the Resurrection. An IRL party that existed in the 40s, I don't know if it survived into the early 50s, that Ó Chuineágáin was the Ceanara of, and the ICA is causing trouble. President O'Brien remains under much stress. The poor man, would you not leave him alone? Would you not leave him alone? More damage. Oh, those devils. And some good news from Ireland. Finally, we've made progress here as well. Don't mind that yellow, it turns green. We've made progress in Ireland. The operation, the Irish Army, have been sent in. The IRA has been sent into Northern Ireland to take down the barricades. It's been a success, and undoubtedly, with the army united behind the government, with stability returning, surely this is the start of a new golden age of democracy and peace and stability and factories in Ireland. Finally managed to get rid of that pocket, and our forces are going to distribute themselves. The whole thing is progressing nicely. They're actually heading for Baton Rouge. The good thing is that they're being pushed back. These devils are being pushed back from Chicago. I've continued down the military tree. So do you know what? We'll revive the flying columns, and then we might head back to economic affairs. Things looked dire when we arrived in the United States first, but the IRA truly has been a credit to the nation. They've overthrown the government. Hugo McNeill, leading the Irish Republican Army, dissatisfied with our pathetic attempts to control events in Northern Ireland, or to keep the country out of the influence of the Union of Britain. I think the Union had about 100 points more than the German Empire when the Northern Crisis came to an end. Hugo McNeill has overthrown the government and installed himself as the new ruler. We didn't have any advisors, did we? No. Well, they're all gone anyway. Sean Russell, he can stay, he's fine. It's a good thing that we don't have the internet in the 1930s, because nobody in America has been told that the government has been overthrown for being too syndicalist and to stop supporting the syndicalists. Well, now that we're under a brand new military rule, what do we do? I suppose, are we going to keep... Exactly, we will learn the lessons of the War of Independence, so I was going to transition to more economic affairs. But you have all been deceived, for this was part of my plan all along. Behold, shenanigans! The Second Irish Revolution has broken out. The Union of Britain has stepped in. It has effectively driven out the army of Hugo McNeill. The German Empire, which was supporting him, has withdrawn its support. The army has collapsed, and the Union of Britain is now going to install a puppet government in Ireland. Now, if you elect the Labour Party in the 1937 election, you take the National Development Party as your coalition partners, and if what happens here happens there, then you're going to be given one option. I don't think you even get an option. Saor Éire is installed as the new ruling party under Peadar O'Donnell. However, because of the path that was laid out specifically by North Midwest on the Up With The Stars Discord, by taking the Progressive Labour Party, Oren Tweedy has been liaising with the Union of Britain. He has basically organised a rebellion in Ireland, which has led to the fall of the government, and the Union of Britain is now prepared to bring in one of the most peculiar paths in Kaiserreich for Ireland. The Labour Party, under William O'Brien, will be restored to power as a puppet, effectively as a puppet of Oren Tweedy. And that's exactly what we're going to go with. The overthrown Labour coalition is revealed to have been infiltrated by radicals with syndicalist sympathies. What? Who would have guessed? Who seized control of the government, most certainly not the Tom Barry up there in the top left, who's... How many thousands of men has he lost in the syndicalist cause? Who seized control of the government with the aid of the Third Internationale. William O'Brien will replace the trait-dedicated unionizer with president in name only, which is going to give us a massive stability penalty. Oren Tweedy is our second-in-command, who counters William's stability, but gives us a daily political power deficit, and a big heap of stuff at the bottom. Oh, it's all red. Anti-socialist agitation, low legitimacy, disproportionate loyalist representation gets removed. Oh, so it's not all bad. Labour will lead Ireland to socialism, as Connolly intended. And there he is, back once again, William O'Brien. Back in power, Oren Tweedy, and he actually gets a bit of an update using the PLP's naivete, inexperience and optimism to his advantage. Tweedy worked within the party from the onset and has now become the real power behind the government. So the first thing is, O'Brien is back. The second thing is, the Union of Britain, our best friends in the whole world, are going to send us a heap of rifles, which we need. We are told that the Irish Socialist Republic has joined the Third Internationale. And here we can see the reason why I didn't take any of Labour's early focuses, because they get auto-completed when this madness occurs. So we've unlocked Scarlet Dawn. We have Codify Workers' Rights. We've all this done, which will allow us to facilitate cooperative business and then eventually head down this chain. And this is the rather peculiar chain that belongs to the reinstalled, putsched Labour Party. So we can see over here, for example, if Saor Éire is in power, it can protect the revolution, establish the Atlantic Vanguard, it'll give out about the old oppressor, break the Croziers, big old heap of stuff down in this direction. The Syndicalist Party is a bit more moderate. Over here, what we're going to be doing is compensated transfer of assets from the church. We're going to reconcile with the old guard, the Social Democrats, and we're going to protect our freedom. So it's a rather peculiar path for what is, for all intents and purposes, a puppeted dictatorship at this stage. We'll also get the Ruby Isle, so we'll be able to go down through these two. But it's a rather peculiar path back to democracy. And that peculiar path is going to begin on the next episode. You saw that there was some mention of low legitimacy. Basically, nobody in the country recognises a bunch of mad socialists who've been installed by the British as the legitimate government. Our ability to generate manpower in any way, make, shape or form is going to collapse. You can see that we have minus 100% stability. We're going to have to spend a lot of resources trying to remove, reduce, placate, eliminate any opposition in Ireland to our rule. And while we do have a path to democracy ahead of us, we are, for now, part of the Third Internationale. With world tensions at 56%, we are barreling towards a major world conflict. And this is why Ireland has been trying to get some allies. The major goal ahead is going to be to try and finish off the American Union state and see what we can do from there. Hopefully stabilise the syndicates. I'd be afraid of an invasion from the Entente. But the creation of a friendly United States, that is something that I most certainly want to do. Thank you for joining me on this episode. YouTube, light up the like button. If you saw the like button flash below, you are now contractually obliged to click that button. If you have any advice for what I can do to stop myself from being wiped out in the event of a major war, or if there's any military stuff that I could do a bit better, do drop that below in the comment section. Check out the description, there'll be links, like I said, to the Up With The Stars subreddit and to the Discord. They're hoping to get something out by the summer, so it'll be great to see that. I'm looking forward to playing as JFK's dad and Huey Long, the patron saint of Up With The Stars. Thank you all very much for joining me, and I will see you on the next one.